Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new series I'm starting on my channel called For the Love of Film, where I talk to different people, YouTube or not, who love film as well, and we just discuss film generally as well as how we come to love the medium in the first place and share their interest. And for today's first episode, I am joined by Sarah from Popcorn Chat. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I'm doing okay, Aaron. Minus a little cold. I'm all good. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
No worries. Yeah, it seems like everyone's kind of. I know a lot of people that are currently going through a cold, myself included, last
Yeah.
week. Um, so yeah, it's great to have you here. I mean, it almost feels like I'm kind of returning the favor from when I was on your channel last year. So yeah, we might as well just get straight into it. So I'm going to start off with just a pretty straightforward question. What is the most recent film you've seen that you've absolutely loved? It doesn't have to be a new release, so to speak. Just any film you've watched recently that you were just blown away by.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it is a new film that I actually really enjoyed recently. I went to the cinema to see a film called Blue Jean, which I think a
Mm,
few people saw maybe at London Film Festival last year. But yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised. Yeah, it's very much like an indie film. It has a really nice cinematography. It just has like everything that I look for in a film. So I really
mm.
enjoyed it. I had a really good experience. It was in an independent cinema in Cardiff, and it was a nice tiny screen. There was Q&A afterwards with some people from different sort of charities. So yeah, and the film was great. So I had a really good time with that one.
Oh, that's good. I keep meaning to check that one out because I keep seeing people posting stuff about it online. And I saw that it was doing the Q&A tour of the UK, and I really wanted to go
Yeah.
to it, but stuff got in the way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely worth checking out. It's very much if you like your sort of film setting, very sort of 90s political movement, shall we say. It's really good. Yeah, and it's always great to go and support like indie films as well. So
Mm.
yeah, it's great.
No, no, I definitely want to check that out. Purely because most of the new releases I've seen so far this year have been like kind of underwhelming. Because
Mm,
I haven't seen many films this year. I've only seen Megan, the KSI
y-
documentary from Amazon, and some Korean film on Netflix called Junji. It's from the bloke who made Train to Busan.
oh,
That was
okay.
underwhelming. The KSI documentary was fine, and the Megan was also fine. It didn't blow me
Yeah.
away. So yeah, I might have to check Blue Jean out because I'm craving something that is better than just yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, this year has not been maybe a strong start in terms of new
No,
releases. I mean, obviously, here in the UK, we got a lot of technically 2022 releases, that
yeah.
are going to be in sort of the Oscar talks. But
Mm,
yeah, I think Megan, like you say, is anyone I've seen. I was
mm.
debating going to see Cocaine Bear maybe, but we'll see.
I really want to see Cocaine Bear. I still haven't seen Ant Man. Well, that's one
No,
at
I
the
haven't
top of the
either.
list. Yeah, there's loads of films I just need to see, like Cocaine Bear, and I really want to see Marcel the Shell with Shoes on as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
But I just haven't found the time. But I just really want to see something that's better than Megan because everyone was hyping it up to be like the best thing in the world, and I
Yeah.
watched it and was like, yeah, it's funny in places, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I didn't really
It's
get the hype.
fine.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's an enjoyable watch.
Yeah, it's fine, but I just wanted it to go the extra sort of
Hmm.
bit more horror or comedy.
Yeah,
Like I just wanted to go more. It was very, yeah, safe, shall we say?
it did feel like it was holding back
Mm,
more
yeah,
than a few times. So anyway, I thought it would be good to maybe start off by getting to know you a little bit, as well as your YouTube channel as well, and just generally, why did you start your YouTube channel? What made you specifically want to do a channel focused on film and TV?
I think like many people, I got into sort of film reviews and like sort of commenting on films sort of in the lockdown, the first lockdown especially. So I started making videos then because that's where I mainly do like my reviews. And then I decided to make a specific channel in like the November of 2020. And yeah, I've just been doing it ever since. Yeah, I guess I wanted to do a specific channel because I think I don't know. I think I brought something a little bit different. maybe it's a lot of people that I watch, like especially in the
Mm.
UK. They're there's I'm getting into it, Aaron, but there's a lot of male film reviewers, so I
Yeah,
thought I
yeah.
would try and mix it up a little bit. And yeah, I'm still doing it because I still love it, and I
Mm.
still love meeting people. Like we've met at like London Film Festival.
Mm.
Like there's lots of great communities out there, and that's what keeps me doing it.
Mm.
And yeah, I speak to people all over the world, and I love doing that. Like
Mm.
people in America that I chat to, some Australian people I chat to. Um, yeah, and I don't know. I don't think anything I say is anything like radical,
Mm.
but I enjoy I enjoy doing it definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair enough. And to be honest, despite being in the category that you explained, I do completely understand what you mean. Like, I feel like there needs, not that there aren't female YouTube film people out there, but I feel like, there could be more done, especially from people like
Yeah.
myself, to kind of get their voices out there. And it starts to become a bit overcrowded a little bit. I know I'm part of the
Mhm.
problem as I'm saying that, but you do start to see the same sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
like you said, even though you don't necessarily sometimes always come with a radical opinion on things, it's nice to see your point of view from it anyway, because
Mm.
sometimes, like, for example, we're not fans of Megan, whereas everyone else seems to think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, exactly.
mm,
Yeah, I think it's important to have different opinions. Doesn't matter, like, different backgrounds, where you're from and stuff. So it always
mm,
inspires me. Like I always try and reach out and make effort with people from different backgrounds that do what we
mm,
do. So yeah, I love doing it, and just I
mm.
like watching videos as well from other creators that maybe aren't what I agree with, but it makes you think at least. Like,
Yeah,
okay, I can see your perspective. So
yeah.
yeah, there's lots of great reviewers out there, definitely.
Yeah, and I think especially over the last year or so with COVID and stuff, and a lot of stuff moving online, that
Hmm.
connectivity's kind of enhanced more than has kind of been detracted.
Yeah.
I've connected with more people in the community than ever before over the
Hmm.
past 2 years, like with you and other people in the British film YouTube circles, but
Hmm.
also there are people like you said on in Australia and America that I've spoken to as well. And I feel like even though the last couple of years have been horrible, it's opened that up for
Mm.
everyone, and having that connectivity more than ever has been like something really refreshing. I think
Yeah.
you'll agree with me on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
So in terms of your YouTube channel, is there any specific way you approach film criticism? Like, are there any elements you specifically look for in a film, like in when you're rating or recommending a film?
Yeah, I mean, I think people could say I'm quite harsh in terms of my reviews. Um,
No comment.
no comment. But yeah, I'm just very like someone who comes at it from all sorts of angles. Like, yeah,
Mm,
cinematography, score, like it's the whole kind of package for me that I
mm,
look at. But there are films that I do just genuinely enjoy that I know are silly and fun. And
mm,
like, yeah, I might give that a higher score because I watched it in a good mood on a good day and I kind of liked it.
mm,
But yeah, generally I kind of look at everything in terms of that. Be it, it's not necessarily negative all the time. I just try and
mm.
give that overall things, and maybe some people, oh, I did enjoy it just for what it is. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You
Yeah.
you take away what you do, but like, yeah, I think just because with what I do in my job, because I'm a camera operator, video editor, so you kind of have that bit of background knowledge, and you can appreciate, camera movements. I'm
Mm,
like, oh, that's a bad bit of CGI. Oh, that's a weird edit.
yeah.
It kind of ruins it sometimes, but can
Yeah.
like maybe make you appreciate it a lot more as well.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on that one. As someone who's been making short films since like college,
Yeah.
and does videography stuff for a living at the moment,
Hmm.
that sort of stuff just becomes more and more noticeable. Like, even if you're
Yeah.
going into a film just to enjoy it, you still pick up like Oh, they could have done that slightly differently. And I'm not
Mm,
sure about this specific camera move. But there are times you just want to turn your brain off.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
Like,
oh, sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say, like for example, like, I watched a really good film. Well, I say really good, an enjoyable film last weekend called Demolition Man. Came out in like 1993.
Is that Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah, and Wesley
Yeah.
Snipes.
Yeah.
And it was like cheesy
Mm,
90s action fun. And
mm,
I ended up really enjoying it. Yeah, I
mm.
wasn't criticizing, oh, they could have, really added some nice warm lighting here or whatever,
Mm.
I just enjoyed it for what it was. And it does happen.
Yeah.
I'm not always that pedantic, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I've not seen Demolition Man, but I know just from what I've seen of it, you kind of do need to turn your brain off for
Yes,
that.
yes, definitely. It's good fun.
Oh dear. Um, but yeah, in a similar sort of way, then kind of taking the film criticism aspect to the side a little bit. What
Mhm.
do you specifically love about film as a medium or an art form? Is it the craft? Is it the escapism angle? Or, like you said a minute ago, is it kind of a mixture of the two depending on the film?
Yeah, I think it's very much down to like where you are, like maybe in like your headspace as well. Like, if you're actively going out, like I'm gonna go watch The Fablemans and I'm
Mm,
gonna enjoy Spielberg's, the performance he gets, the look that he's iconic for, the direction and everything
yeah,
like that. But then also I think it's quite nice, like escapism. Like I have a bunch of like comfort films that I love watching when like I'm ill, for example,
mm,
that are just fun and just sort of, or maybe like otherworldly. Like I quite like watching sci-fi and dystopian stuff like that because it's not based in anything like in
yeah,
reality.
yeah,
And I like just sort of detaching myself.
mm,
That's the kind of like books I like to read as well. It's something that's
mm,
just a bit more, no one's ever come across that idea and will. But
mm,
yeah, it's definitely a blend.
mm,
It's definitely a blend. And yeah, I study the craft of it all, definitely. But yeah, sometimes you just need that
mm.
escapism. And I think, yeah, that's what great, like different genres are for. Like that's what makes them
Yeah,
so great. Like you can, I want to watch Lord of the Rings. I want to
mm,
watch, Alien. Like you can get everything you want, like with cinema, and I like that because it's for
yeah,
everyone.
yeah. No, I'm definitely in the same boat. It all depends on really what you're watching because
Hmm.
there used to be a time where I used to kind of put craft more over than escapism, but that was me going through like the film student phase.
I was going to say it's very film student, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, Martin Scorsese is excellent at doing blah, blah, blah. Everyone
Oh, I
has that
wonder what this
stage.
cinematography means. Ooh.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I feel like having that nice blend is kind of what you need nowadays because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that just go into things looking to nitpick on them,
hmm,
and not every film requires the same level of scrutiny.
yeah,
It's like you don't go into it like a Disney animated film the same way you do like an art house foreign movie. Like they're two. You kind of need to be in the right mindset, and like you said, it kind of goes with genre as well.
hmm,
Like I know what I mean when I say this, but animated films can kind of there are certain things that you can get away with that than say like a really hardcore horror film or a thriller or something.
hmm.
But I do totally agree with what you mean in that sense, and I feel like having that balance is kind of needed nowadays.
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Especially like these like last few years, I think escapism was massive for a lot of people. When I know a lot
mm,
of people turned to film and TV or video
yeah,
games, like just something that was so different.
mm,
And obviously, we've had a few projects now that have like acknowledged the time, and I know that
mm,
affects different people in different ways. But yeah, I
yeah,
think escapism has become a massive part. I think that people like.
mm. It's probably proven why films like Top Gun Maverick were so big. Like
Mm,
that film is just pure popcorn Hollywood escapism,
yes,
and it
yeah,
is one of the highest grossing films of not just last year but just in general. So
yeah.
that kind of proves it. But every now and then you do still get the hard-hitting dramas. On a slightly related note, but taking it all the way back,
Hmm.
what was, if you can remember at all, what was the first film that you saw that really sparked your love for cinema? Like you immediately finished watching it and was like, okay, this is I love this is my thing now.
Yeah, I kind of have two answers for this. So I guess I I
Mm,
I, I kind of approach it in one way. Like I remember as a child just sitting in front of the TV and just
mm,
watching like VHSs on repeat.
mm.
And one of the films that I apparently used to watch on repeat was the musical Oliver,
Okay.
which I don't know how, as it like a 5-year-old watching a 3-hour film, I did
Yeah.
that. But I remember asking my mum, I was like, "How many times do you think I actually watched that?" She said, "Oh, probably 60." I was like, "I've never watched a film now 60 times that I love." So I was like, okay. But yeah, I've always watched films since I was a kid. Always used to
Mm,
fall asleep watching films. I had a TV in my room. That could be good or bad. But yeah, I guess then I came a bit more aware of like sort of analytical sort of stuff when I was more like
mm.
17, 18, about to go to uni, you think you're, trying to be really cool. So a film for me that really sort of changed it was Submarine.
Okay. Oh,
Richard
the
Ayoade's
yeah,
Submarine.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's very like feels very sort of hipster. It was
Mm,
really quirky with like having Alex Turner being like the whole soundtrack.
yeah.
There's some great actors in it, like
Mm,
a lot of them have gone on to do it. Like Sally Hawkins is in it, Paddy Considine. Like it's a
mm,
great cast. But yeah, I
yeah.
remember that was a massive film for me.
Mm,
Yeah, it just changed the way I think that I approached films, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll start reading like, you know, 1001 best films to watch. That book that everyone's got.
mm. Yeah. No, I feel like, especially here in the UK, it felt like when that film came out, like there was a specific age group that was just kind of obsessed
Yeah.
with that film. I liked the film a lot, but there were some people that were just like obsessed with it. And I complete that is a really good one, to be honest. To be honest, when you said Submarine, I was thinking of something completely different, but then it just clicked. I was like, oh yeah, I haven't watched Submarine for years. Um,
Not Wes Anderson's Life Aquatic, was it?
no, no, but Oliver's an interesting one. Oliver's a really interesting one. I used to watch that quite a bit as a kid, not as much, not 60 times, but
No,
I
no.
remember watching that quite a lot as a kid. Um, but yeah, that is a really interesting one. Was there any specific
Yeah.
reason,
I have
or
no idea. I mean, I like musicals
mm,
now. I remember watching as well. I was definitely way too young, but like the Blues Brothers. So maybe I was into
mm,
like a musical phase, but I watched that a lot on like VHS. And then I actually got like child appropriate ones like Shrek, Harry Potter. I got back into
yeah,
that. But mum was like, she can watch what she wants. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's got a special place in my heart. And if it's on at
mm,
Christmas, I'll probably watch it. Like that's a great time to watch it.
mm.
But yeah, it's three
We are talking
hours.
about the 60s one, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I was obsessed with that one.
So going off of that last question, would you say, and you kind of hinted to this earlier, would you say your taste in film has kind of changed over time?
Yeah, definitely. I would say in terms of the genres that I enjoy have definitely shifted. I think like when you sort of alluded to earlier about being like film school, you feel like you have to live up to this kind of expectation. Like, oh yeah, I love a Scorsese. I love a Tarantino. Like you have to, I know you're watching lots of different things and people sort of cling on to maybe a genre or a
Mm,
director. And even going back to like early teens, I remember just like going over to like friends' houses and having sleepovers, and we'd watch a lot of comedies. Whereas now I don't really watch a lot of comedy films, like
mm,
well, not a lot of mainstream comedy films anyway. So it's definitely shifted. I think when you get to uni and you broaden your horizons,
yeah.
and now I guess because I watch a lot of films by myself, I kind of watch what I want really, and that
Mm,
tends to be like a lot more horrors, like indie rom-coms,
yeah.
anything like that. I'm watching a lot more like foreign language films.
Mm,
Maybe, just because I think the world's become a bit more aware of like different sort of cultures
mm.
and their sort of cinema.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I would never have thought to watch like a lot of like Korean cinema or anything like
Mm,
that when I was like 15. Like that would never have been in my radar at all.
yeah.
You'd just be watching like a Will Ferrell comedy or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
now I like to think I've sort of now sort of found more of like an area of film that I actually really enjoy
Mm.
and love sort of learning more about. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of the same with you on that one, especially when it comes to foreign language cinema, because I
Mm.
think 12-year-old me would just be like, no. And then nowadays, I feel like, from my opinion, I feel like some of the best films are not in English.
Mm. Yeah.
Like when you look at like Bong Joon-ho stuff, and especially Korean cinema,
Hmm.
just basically half of the best films that are made nowadays are not in English. So if you don't watch
Yeah.
foreign language films, do yourself a favor and change it, whoever you are I'm talking to. Um, but I totally get where you're coming from. Is there any sort of type of film, specific genre that, say, when you were younger, you just completely was like, oh god, no, I'm never ever going to watch that?
um, I guess I never saw myself as a horror fan. I think
Mm,
because at that age, I mean, it's probably what, yeah, sort of mid 2000s, early
yeah.
2010s. I think horror, like new releases at that point, was a lot of
Mm,
like jump scares, and I was like, oh,
oh
that's
yeah.
horror's not for me. Like,
Mm,
I will cry if I watch something
mm,
like that. But now, like I've found over the last few years, sort of horrors that are, I like watching like older horrors, sort of
mm,
80s horrors, or
yeah.
things that aren't necessarily jump scares, but they have this eerie presence. Like, okay, like this is a massive genre that I just thought was jump
Mm,
scares because that's what Hollywood were making at the time, I
mm.
guess. Yeah, so I never thought I'd be into horror like I am now.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, because I'm very similar in that sense. I never used to be the person that would go out and watch a horror film because I wanted
Mm,
to, and now I find it one of the most fascinating genres. But
yeah.
I do agree. Like growing up, and trying to get into that genre, especially in the early 2010s, it was either you had the Paranormal Activity kind of thing where it
Yeah.
was jump scares every 5 seconds, or you had Saw, which was just
Mm,
gore for the sake of gore.
yeah.
And there was like no good middle ground. And occasionally, if you did, no one really mentioned it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do feel like horror is one of those genres you come to appreciate more over time. At least
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like that's how the both of us have kind of come. I can't imagine anyone watching it from like the age of 5 going, "Yeah, I love horror now.
Hey,
This is
I've seen
my
some
thing."
kids do it. Some like kids on like Instagram, like because like if their parents are really into horror, like they get like Chucky dolls for Christmas. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never have that. But
Mm,
yeah, it's interesting. I don't think like I would never have known any of the horrors except for like, yeah, like you say, like your Saws, your
yeah.
Paranormal Activity, because that's at the cinema. That's probably what was in the DVD like
Mm,
aisle. But like
mm,
in a good way, that's what like streaming services and things like that are great for. Like
mm,
things like what's it called, Shudder, things like
yeah.
that, or like Mubi, going back to sort of our foreign language
Mm,
aspect. Like without that, I wouldn't watch like most of the
mm,
films that I do now.
yeah.
Like it's insane.
Yeah, and I think it is a case of like, I think for me, especially with those newer streaming sites kind of opening it up a little bit more. I mean, like you said, Shudder is just purely just for horror fans.
Yeah.
And if you rewind it back to the early 2010s, there wasn't anything like that.
Mm-mm.
You didn't even properly have something like Netflix.
Mm.
Whereas nowadays you have stuff for specific things, where like Mubi is for like your more like foreign language art house things. Shudder is just for horror, and if it wasn't for that, I feel like a lot of people nowadays wouldn't be more willing to try new things unless those sites were available.
Yeah.
Um, and especially with someone like myself and you opening it up, and you might be slightly different on this one, but I feel like watching the more new recent, especially horror releases, it kind of makes you want to go back and see what they were inspired by a little bit.
Mm. Yeah,
uh,
definitely. Yeah,
mm,
like yeah, can't think of an example, but yeah, like well, even like with the latest like Scream film that came out, and it was
mm,
referencing like this elevated horror, which is obviously,
yeah.
I like that kind of horror, but
Mm,
obviously you then have to like respect like the OGs, like kind of
yeah.
like 80s horror, and I've yeah, I've started to go down like some little weird sort of sections of horror. I'm like, oh god, do I go into like I might brace like the Terrifier series soon. Like I know
Oh
that's
God.
like full on, but yeah,
Mm,
there's so many things that inspire each other, and like other genres inspire other genres as well. Like someone might
mm,
use a technique, like I mean,
yeah.
technically, I guess like Psycho's a horror, and like you have
Mm.
that like people emulate that so many like
Oh
times in
yeah.
different things, like comedies or other horrors. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Let me know how the Terrifier watch goes because
yeah.
I saw the kill count for that from the Dead Meat channel and was immediately like, no, I'm getting into horror films, but I'm not even bothering with that.
Yeah,
It just
I'll let you
looks
know.
a bit too much. Let's just say.
I've heard everyone's like, oh, the first one's pretty bad, and then the second one,
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, it gets worse. I'm like, oh god, okay.
There's you could somehow they got worse, not in
Yeah.
quality wise, but on a similar note, and kind of going off of that whole thing of going back and checking out older films. Are there any popular slash classic films that you still haven't watched yet?
Oh, Aaron, there's loads. I get like I get the Mick take out at me all the time, like, oh, you're a massive like film buff and you've not seen blah 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 blah. I'm like,
Mm,
yeah, because I've seen, maybe something else. Like, there is so many films in the world that I've
mm.
missed a few classics. I've got a little list. Like I've not seen the Kill Bill films.
Okay,
I've not seen the Big Lebowski,
okay,
Saving Private Ryan,
okay. That one kind of hurts me a little bit.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like I've not seen a lot of like old
Okay,
westerns, to be honest. Things like
yeah,
Heat, things like that.
okay,
I've never seen Pan's Labyrinth, so that's just giving like it's not just a specific genre. I've
okay.
just missed them.
Mm. Is there any specific reason for some of these, or is it just a case of like life happened and you just haven't had the
Yeah.
time?
I think sometimes like something new comes out on like a
Yeah,
streaming service or the cinema, like that catches my attention, and then the
mm,
watch list just keeps building
yeah,
of like old like classics like this or like new
mm,
releases. I do want to watch them because I want to like chip in
mm,
on like discussions and get the references that people talk about.
mm.
But yeah, it's priority I think in terms of the watch list.
That's fair enough. To be honest,
Yeah.
I'm the same, but with TV shows, like my watch list
Mm.
of TV shows is
Oh yeah, me too.
huge. I find watching films easier than trying to like get through a whole
Hmm.
TV show. Hence why the watch list is so big.
Yes.
But out of the ones you mentioned, I would highly recommend watching either Heat or Saving Private Ryan, like making them the
Hmm.
priority. Um, because I mean, Heat. No, yeah, Heat is like you watch a lot of like crime films nowadays, and you will just see that most of them were influenced by that.
Mm.
And it just also it looks gorgeous. Like the
Yeah.
cinematography is fantastic. And Saving Private Ryan, I know it's a cliched thing to say, but it is one of my favorite war films of all time. And so it might actually be my favorite Spielberg film. I know he's made
Mm.
some great films over the years, and a lot of them are like top tier. But for me, Saving Private Ryan, I watched it probably too young than I was meant to, and it's just always stuck in my head. Not just the Omaha Beach scene, but like the whole
Mm.
thing. It's like I think it is about 3 hours, but it just flies by.
Yeah.
I can't.
Again,
Yeah.
I need to prepare for those 3-hour films. I have
Mm,
to be a right mindset. I remember they showed us that beach scene in English, I think, in
mm.
GCSE when we were studying like war poetry, and they're like, "Oh, we'll put on this beach scene at 15." You're like, "Oh my god."
Yeah,
Yeah.
just guts flying everywhere and arms flying
Yeah.
everywhere, and you're just like, are you allowed to show us this?
I know. I know. Different times.
Okay, going from some all-time classics to the other end of the spectrum. What's and again, there's probably loads of contenders for this, but off the top of your head, what is the worst film you think you've ever seen?
I've brought this film up, I think, in a few discussions with people, and not everyone's seen it, but it's a film called The Master of Disguise. It
Oh
came out
God.
in 2002. And I thought for a long time it was a fever dream. I was like, no
Yeah.
one else has seen this film. And then I
Mm.
eventually I was like, I had to type in like this thing that was like man in a turtle costume. Like he does all these weird things. And then I found it. It's called Master of Disguise. And I was like,
Mm.
oh my God. And I watched the trailer again and I was like, this is so bad.
Oh
It does not
God.
hold up in any way.
That's
It's
one of those films that I'm glad I've not seen. Like, it's got such a reputation for being just dreadful, and I'm
yes.
really glad I've not seen it. I know about it, but I've
Mm,
seen enough clips. I've seen the turtle scene, and it's
yeah.
just.
It's like Dan Carvey, like he was obviously I didn't really watch SNL at that point, but apparently,
Mm,
he was great on SNL. And
mm,
I've seen like Wayne's World, he's
yeah,
good in that, but
yeah.
this is just something else. Like it's racist, like it doesn't hold up, like
Mm,
it's so 2002 is what I'm
oh
gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah. I was interested to see what your answer would be for this one because there's so many, as many great films as there are out there. There's so many bad ones.
Yeah.
Um, and
What would
you're
yours
probably.
gonna be?
Oh God. Oh, there's a few I could pick from. Like The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan's pretty bad.
Oh, I've not
Like
seen that.
that one's pretty bad. Like it's one of those films that's so bad it's good, and you can quote it
Mm,
in all like the right areas just because of how bad it is. Like half of Mark Wahlberg's lines in that film are really badly delivered, and he is a good actor, but half of the
mm.
lines just like "You were gonna kill me in my sleep." What? No, just like M Night Shyamalan
Yeah.
looked at that and went, "Yeah, we're gonna go with that cut." Yeah, that cut, that shot was good. Um, but that's usually up there. The Room is a easy one to go with, but
Yeah, but I guess you can say it's fun though. I don't think it's the
oh yeah,
worst. Like, okay, again, if you're being critical, like, oh yeah, the cinematography's not
yeah,
great, whatever. But like, it's
mm.
fun, I guess.
Yeah. There's like a layer of fun with The Room, and even The Happening to an extent, where you can be
Mm,
like, yeah, I can watch this and not take it too seriously. But I guess I have two joint for like the worst ever things I've seen. Even
okay.
if you try and watch them in like a so bad it's good sense, there's nothing redeemable about these. One of them is Samurai Cop, which
Never even
is
heard of it.
so it's made in the 80s on like as like there's no budget in it, and you can really tell that they're punching above their weight in terms of what they want to do and the fact they
Mm.
have no budget at all. And the lead character's got hair that goes down, like he's got really long hair, but he obviously had a haircut halfway through and he wears this really obvious wig.
Oh
um
no.
it's dreadful. The soundtrack's dreadful. There are these really just like the plot will just stop for a sex scene halfway through, and it's really bad.
Oh
And the other one
gosh.
is Food Fight, if you've ever heard of that.
Food fight. No, I don't think so.
After this meeting, Google it. It is the
Okay.
worst animated film I have ever seen in my entire life.
Oh wait, is this the one with like Seth Rogen? Where he
No,
voices no,
that's Sausage Party.
same thing.
Food Fight looks like a really bad PS1 game, and it came out in 2012.
Oh
Like the
shit, okay.
animation should have been better. And the voice, it's like got Charlie Sheen, Eva Longoria doing some of the voices, and Christopher Lloyd does a voice in it as well. Like they got
Mm,
Doc Brown in it for like one scene, and the whole thing's this horrible fever dream.
okay.
And again, like similar to you with Master of Disguise, I'm kind of not sure it exists, but I know I've watched the whole thing,
Yeah.
and
Would you say it's a good thing to watch being ill? Will it
no,
worsen my state?
it'd probably make you iller. um, it's a dreadful film. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Okay.
And I'm like,
I'll add it to the list.
I don't even know why it exists. Like, there's also loads of innuendos, and it's a kids' film. Like, they're not even subtle. It's
So it
just
is like
like,
Sausage Party a little bit then.
yeah, but at least with
Aimed
Sausage
at
Party,
kids.
yeah, the Sausage Party was like, yeah, we're trying to be edgy. Food Fight's just like, it feels like it was written by a 12-year-old, and they just let it slide.
God.
it's like I would recommend watching it, but be warned,
Okay.
you might need a drink to get through that, or drink or two. Um,
Mm.
Yeah, it's not good. I've got a whole list of really bad films I've seen over the years, but those two
That's a whole
always
other
top it.
video.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the first videos I made back in like 2017 was about like the worst films I've ever seen, and they were just like immediately at the top.
Yeah.
God, oh, you're giving me PTSD from
I'm sorry.
that now. So to kind of bring things back on a lighter point, because I need to kind of wash my brain out with something.
Mm.
Um, nice little general question that I think will have varying answers from different people the more
Mhm.
this series goes on. And again, you can give reasons for why you do this, but if you were stranded on a desert island and you only had 5 films with you and you're just stuck with those 5 for the rest of your life, what are you choosing? And I want to give good reasons for each.
Yeah, it was quite tricky. I mean, I always struggle when people say, "What's your favorite film?" Like, I
Mm.
can't do one. So I've gone with like films that I think are like different genres that will fit me on. Because I don't know, how long am I on this desert island for? I don't know, months, years. So I want to do ones that I
Yeah.
enjoy, have a range of different genres.
Mm.
So the first one I've got is Before Sunrise, which is like one of my favorite like romantic films. I was like, that'll just
Brilliant.
make me cry. It's an hour
Yeah.
and a half. I can watch that loads of times on the
Mm.
island.
Yeah, that's a brilliant choice. I
Yeah.
love that film.
I mean, Linklater is like one of my favorites.
Mm.
Which saying that, I've also gone with School of Rock because
Okay.
that is one of my like comfort films. I grew up
Mm.
on it. I think I know the script almost off by heart. Whether that means I've maybe overwatched it, I'm not too sure. But in terms of
Yeah.
comedy and like nostalgia, I thought that was quite a good one. And like, if there's other people with me, everyone's gonna
Mm.
love School of Rock. Everyone loves Jack Black.
Yeah.
So
I
if I
mean,
make some friends.
you might get to like the 30th viewing of School of Rock, and then some guy who was stranded from the boat crash is just like, enough. But yeah, I like those two choices. What's the third one?
Third one I've got is Scream. It's like
Okay.
it was like a soft kind of horror, I guess,
Mm.
but like the Scream franchise is one of my
Yeah.
favorite franchises.
Mm.
It's yeah, I just love the self-awareness, the campiness,
Mm.
and the first one is the best one.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why it's on there, really.
Yeah. No, that's a valid choice, to be honest. I've not seen all the Scream films. Like, I'm gonna be brutally honest here. I jumped straight from Scream One to Scream the one from last year. Uh, so there were a few things that went over my head, but from what I've seen
Yeah,
so far, I I still think the original's the best. Like,
yeah,
it just
it
nails
is.
everything it goes for, and I think one thing I love about the Scream series is that, like, yes, it is tongue in cheek, yes, it is self-referential, but it doesn't. I mean, there are times where it like relies on it, but it never smacks you over the face with it. Like, it's
Mm,
never too over the top, and it knows just the right line to ride,
yes,
and
yeah.
it doesn't end up being a scary movie.
Yeah, yeah. It very could easily like if someone else
Hmm.
made it like that wasn't Wes Craven,
Yeah.
like it could have just been a straight up comedy, I think. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, he like say he like teeters the line of like satire and horror. So I
Hmm.
think yeah, it's just one of my favorites. So I was like, I'll put that in there.
Nice choice.
And then the fourth one, I was like, I'll throw in a bit of animation.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know there's a whole argument. It's not its own genre, but whatever. Um,
It's a medium. I think it's both a genre and a
yeah.
medium. Yeah.
So one of my favorite Disney like animated films, it's a little bit more not so popular, is Sword in the Stone. Have you heard of
Okay. I've not that out of all the Disney films, that's one that I haven't seen. There's like a
Wow.
grey period from like the 70s and 80s that I haven't seen, and that's
Yeah,
one
I
of them.
love that. It's like the hand-drawn era, like
Mm,
Robin Hood,
yeah.
Aristocats. But Sword in the Stone is one that's always stood out to me, like always enjoyed it.
Okay.
It's just yeah, it's a bit of like fantasy. It used to scare me as well. Like it has
Mm,
everything. Yeah, and I love it. So I thought I have to put like an animation in here because I think I would just get sick of human
mm.
faces.
That's fair enough. I mean, that's a very interesting choice because I know a lot of people would go for like your Beauty and the Beast, your Lion
Yeah, they're
Kings.
overplayed.
Yeah.
Overplayed.
Yeah. No, I like that choice. I like that choice. It's just kind of thrown me off guard a little bit. What's the fifth one you gone for then?
So the last one, I thought again I'd try and go for a different genre. So I've kind of gone from like an action sci-fi.
Hmm.
My favorite, I've put Aliens. So the
Okay.
second Alien. Yeah, yeah. I like Alien, but I think I just Aliens gives it like another level. I like the kind of maternal journey that Ripley
Mm.
goes on. Yeah, and it seems more iconic to me in some ways. Like
Mm.
like the ending is great. Yeah,
Mm.
so I wanted to add something. I guess it's horror as well, but
Okay.
I wanted to throw a bit more sort of actiony sci-fi in there. So I think I've got a
Mm.
range that will keep me entertained for
No,
months.
I like your list. It's got a bit of everything. You've got, I feel like Before Sun, even though you've got School of Rock and the Disney film in there, I feel like
Mm.
Before Sunrise kind of acts as the comfort watch a little bit
Yeah, that
because
there
it is very
definitely is.
warm and it's very, um,
Mm.
it. I don't mean this in a harsh way because I love that film as well, but like it's a film you don't necessarily have to think about.
Yeah,
Like you just let it kind of wash over you. God, that sounds
yeah.
pretentious, but just let it wash over you. Because I adore Before Sunrise.
Mm.
More, I love the whole trilogy, but that one just is.
Yeah.
It's like a.
It hooked
It's
me
just so
into the
good.
trilogy. It was so
Yeah.
good. I was just like, okay, yeah, I do like this. And then I just
Mm,
like binged the three films.
yeah. It just feels like such a lightning in a bottle sort of thing. Whether it's the
Mm.
casting, it's just so good.
Yeah.
But I like that list. You got a nice little bit of everything. If you're in more of like a, if you want to be more in like a scary mood, you watch Scream. If you want to
Yeah.
be more in like a comfort, heartfelt watch, you watch something like that or Sword in the Stone. Yeah, I like that list. Yeah,
I
I
guess
quite like that.
yeah, in hindsight, I might have maybe thrown like one film in there that I've never seen, but I'm like, that's a risk. But you know, I mean, then I've
Mm,
never, because a lot of these films I've seen
yeah.
quite a few times.
Mm,
So maybe I should have gambled and thrown one in on my watch list, but
yeah.
don't
I mean, that's a risk you're willing to take because if you
know.
throw in some like 4 hour long black and white German film that's like incredibly slow and it's not your cup of
Yeah.
tea, you're stuck with
Oh,
that for God knows how long on that desert island.
yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it's not too long. Yeah.
Mm.
All these, yeah, like I suppose they're all roughly an hour and a half, like a lot
Yeah,
of these films.
they're all short and sweet and to the point, which
Yeah.
again gives them all replay value, which you kind of need in
Mm,
that situation.
yeah, definitely.
Um, so one last question before we wrap things up, and it's just a general one. What films are you looking forward to this year? They can be like right around the corner or later in the year, but if you could think of any off the top of your head, what are you looking forward to?
I mean, obviously, I've mentioned that I'm a Scream fan. So Scream
Yep.
6 is out middle of next month. So I'm
Mm,
excited to watch that one.
mm,
And then I think there's a bit of a gap between the ones I'm excited for.
mm.
Obviously, you've got Oppenheimer, Barbie, same day
Yep.
released. So that'll be a fun one. I think I'm more excited for Barbie because I just think it'll be, yeah, again, I think
Mm.
hopefully it'll be like that satire kind of
Yeah.
that I'm looking for. And then Oppenheimer is like, oh God, it's quite bleak.
Yeah, I like. I'm looking. I'm as highly anticipated for both of those, probably equally. Although
Hmm.
like you said, I hope Barbie doesn't take itself too seriously. Like I hope it's self-aware in the right way possible. Also,
Yeah.
it's got Ryan in it. I love Ryan Gosling.
And
He's my
Shooty,
favorite.
the next Doctor.
Oh yeah, and Shooty, and it's got Shang-Chi in it as well, isn't it? Simu
Yeah,
Liu.
everyone.
Like that cast is just as impressive as Oppenheimer.
Oscars 2024.
They just get presented with like a golden Barbie statue.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Any others, or is that most of the big
um,
ones?
I think Ari Aster's next
Mm,
film, like I've not even watched the trailer. 'Cause I'm like,
mm,
there's some films I'm like, I don't want to watch the trailer because it will just, yeah,
mm,
I think it'll give too much away. But yeah, I like Hereditary, I absolutely love. So
mm,
I'm excited to see what he does. And it's Joaquin Phoenix, so
mm.
you can't go wrong with Joaquin.
Yeah. To be honest, as excited as I am for that film, that trailer is just bonkers. So
Oh,
I
is
don't
it?
even. Yeah, I think even if you watch it, you're going to be clueless going into the film.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm really excited for that one as well. So it was lovely speaking with you, Sarah. Let the people know where they can find you on a variety of different platforms and etc.
Yeah, I guess so. My main platform is YouTube. It's Popcorn Chats. You can find loads of video reviews on there, and then I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok,
Mm,
Letterboxd. It's either Popcorn Chat or Sarah's Popcorn Chat. Yeah, you'll find me
mm.
in most places.
Most of the big ones then.
Yeah, yeah, I'm there.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me, Sarah. It's been lovely talking to you about
Thank
all
you for having
things
me.
film related. So, thank you for watching the first episode of For the Love of Film. I'm looking forward to carrying this series on and talking to a variety of different people. Thank you once again, Sarah, for being on this episode, being on the very first one. Yeah.
I've christened this series on your channel now.
Yeah, you have the official thing of like cutting the red tape and yep. Uh, so yes, I'm looking forward to continuing this series with a variety of different people. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then please do so and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Remember to go and check Sarah's channel out because the stuff she makes is brilliant. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.